Hello everybody, welcome back to Financial Trading Basics Part 18, Tax and Regulation. A lot of good economic topics to talk about. Not too much on trading today, but in the last episode we talked about taxes. Like I said, there's a lot of stuff about taxes I don't know. Just a lot of different forms of taxes, but I just wanted to walk you through a graduated income bracket or tax bracket example. So let's say you have, first of all, income versus capital gains. Capital gains is just taxed at a flat rate depending on how long you've held a given security before you sell it. It's taxed upon the realization, the closing of the trade. But these are federal income tax brackets, and your state income tax, you file federal income tax, not state income tax, because it's automatically deducted from your paycheck. State income, I believe state income tax is a tax deductible on your federal income tax return. So let's say somebody makes $2 million in income. They're going to pay 10%, I'm talking you through the logic of the math. They're going to pay 10% of $9,875, or 10% up to $9,875. Then they're going to pay 12% of $40,125 less $9,875. You've already paid the 10% on the first $9,800. Now you're going to pay 12% on the difference. That is the first tax bracket. And then you just continue on. The rates are 10%, 12%, 22%, 24%, 32%, 35%, and 37% respectively. And those correspond to $9,800, $40,000, $85,000, $163,000, $207,000, and $518,000. So if you make $2 million in income, you're going to pay about $696,000 in federal income tax, nice, and you'll pocket about $1.3 million. And if you have that as capital gains, right, that was the news was the change in the capital gains tax of capital gains above $1 million, the rate going from 20% up to match the 37%. So that's how you calculate your taxes, and obviously you hit the different percentages as your income increases. And now I want to talk about regulation, more of just like talking about sentiment of the species and then the impacts of regulation. Thinking about regulation from individual, from a company, from a society, from just ideals. But what can we say is good versus bad versus neutral for regulation? First of all, regulation of anything in demand produces black markets 100% of the time. So the motivation for regulating something is typically a given event, and then the populace has some sort of outcry, and then the regulators reflect the sentiment of the species because they're a part of the species with their own little biases and whatnot. Like I said, I think regulation can be good versus bad versus neutral in a lot of different contexts. How about the first? Let's talk about Bitcoin. Regulating Bitcoin. What do I think about that? I think categorically, what do we mean by regulating Bitcoin? Some sort of accountability or reporting with the SEC. I think categorically good for regulation of Bitcoin because it's a novel, it's not close to its maturation in the market, in the currency market, in the overall economy at all. So any novel thing that people want or people use, regulation to me is good. We'll go case by case. I would say good for Bitcoin. Now let's say, right, the trading fear is people say they hear regulation of Bitcoin and then they say, oh my gosh, that correlates to a price decrease. First of all, again, you can't ban, if the United States, the whole country of the United States came out and said, Bitcoin is banned, you can't use it, it's illegal, you can't touch it at all. It wouldn't ban Bitcoin. It would make a black market. And specific to Bitcoin, you literally can't. but like I don't know who you would sue, I don't know who you would shut down. You could trade paper, and it wouldn't make sense. But again, not defending the Bitcoin trade. That's just a specific example. But good for regulation because it's at a novel stage of its integration into society. How about drugs, right? We've had drugs regulated for a long time. Alcohol back in the 20s, the Controlled Substance Acts in 1964 or whatever. But right, there's a demand, there's a biological demand for just drugs is very general, but I think all drugs should be treated the same. They should be legalized. They should be, again, educate and then let people make choices. Because specific to drugs, any drug interaction, the experience of drugs is not really that different. Meaning, if you take heroin or crack or cannabis or LSD, right, you have drugs that have no overdose risk because of the biological pathways, but activating a new neural pathway to begin with is what gives you the sense of calm or of, lucidity or just difference. So the danger of drugs comes from which ones bind to receptors or ligands on vital organs, but the drug experience really isn't that different. So I would say regulation for drugs is categorically bad. Now, I just like, how about, pain management things from the FDA? I would say that's pretty neutral. I think the actual marketing claims, right? I own CBD-enriched alcohol. I have no intent on making health claims without the supporting studies. But I go watch a pain management thing right now, and it'll just have one super general phrase like, it was shown to lower pain in 14 subjects. Well, pain's subjective. There's one sentiment of any group of a species, and so someone going on a commercial, so of course they're going to want to say whatever the people want them to say. But, right, so you can have bad for drugs, pretty neutral, but I say neutral for just, pain management from the consumer perspective. They're not going to really danger themselves by wearing like a brace or a whatever product they're selling. So I think it's borderline fraudulent scientific for the claims, but from enforcing a regulation or from a consumer standpoint, right? Like if I go buy a cell phone and it says it's going to have a battery life for 48 hours and it only lasts for 24 hours, I don't know if I can sue anybody. I don't want to sue anybody for something like that, but that's a false marketing claim. So drugs and FDA and scientific understanding, that does get a gray area for me. Let me make sure I'm rolling. Sex and prostitution, what I think about regulation for that, categorically bad. Two consenting adults. Why is historically there's no one can debate, people for some weird fucking reason care about who other people have sex with. Why? No one should care at all, just move on. But from a regulation standpoint, that's just nonsense. That's, again, the underdeveloped young dad that says, I'm never going to let my daughter date, and you can just viscerally perceive he's going to fuck up his daughter's life. Regulating sex and prostitution at a society level is that at a society level. Gambling, betting, college athletes, right? Clearly we're deregulating gambling, betting, paying college athletes. Gambling and betting, again, should be completely legal. Sex and prostitution should be completely legal. Regulation categorically bad. I think not paying college athletes and not allowing them to endorse their own things, products, appearances on video games, I think that's theft. Like I think that should be suable fraud from the college athlete's perspective. Total nonsense. I would even equate that to modern day slavery. Again, slavery might be an aggressive word there, but I mean, like for football, you're literally causing people, right? The head of the NFL, no cannabis. You're going to smash your head into somebody else and not take the most biologically non-toxic substance that demonstrably decreases inflammation because America, because values, because we hate science or something. So paying college athletes is I said to me criminal. And again, I'm not a college athlete, never was, but they should absolutely be making money. But then the lead in to how about bigger, like biological things, like to me, getting away from even regulation, right? There's just certain biological things that trump any sort of law or guidance, right? Like COVID and masks, right? Should people, we've already talked about it a lot in the other series, but should people be able to not wear masks or be able to say it's an impingement on their freedom? Categorically no. Saying anything with natural disasters and pandemics, the science, right? Because of individual consent, you can't properly apply consent on a pandemic or any sort of biological thing that involves the whole species. So no individual should be able to have like individual say. Like the CDC just lowered outdoor, if you're fully vaccinated, you don't have to wear a mask outside. If I'm walking by myself, I am not vaccinated, I don't wear a mask outside. I think that's proper, like what they're guiding. But we've talked about regulation. We've talked about how about consent and just the maturation of the special sentiment, just meaning, right, in line with biological education. The motivation from an individual to say here's a specific event to go lobby a legislature to enforce some sort of law. The knowledge will align. Like people won't want stupid things. And we're talking about insecurity. All sounds the same. That will kind of go away. So like the populace roar to regulate stuff will all kind of align because again we're all people. Whatever garbage words come out of your mouth. You want a family. You want some sort of romantic love. You want a job and a career and a friend group, and past that everyone else is just kind of lying. But so now how about the motivation for taxes? Like as an individual Brad, like I said, I've said I'm not against taxes much at all, again with rights or with operating a business. But my thought, and I think the correct thought, economic thought, is I want to help, I owe you nothing. And I think that's why we should have directed tax allocation. Meaning, if I pay $696,000 in taxes, there should be some way for me to have impact onto where that goes. Like maybe I want some I don't know, you have all of these organizations sign up with the federal government and they get vetted, and then I can say I want my money to go to this organization or to this cause or more to that. Now, just as an example, right? Like I drive on the road every day, so I have no problem paying sales tax in Ohio or whatever taxes for consent. Someone built that, someone put time, and I'm driving on it, no problem paying for that. But just like past the necessities of infrastructure or any other sort of necessitated thing, I think the best thing is to have the individual be able to direct their allocation of their portion of taxes. Now, just a couple sour sentiments that I just wrote. I took some notes for some discussion topics, but with an immature sentiment of the species and a lot of novice traders, and again, most people are not successful. I want to say not most people aren't successful in the stock market, but most people really don't like study economics at a tremendous level. And economics is tremendously involved. But you get, from a novice trader's perspective, you'll have super success or crash and burn. And that's reflective of the this or that default mindset. And I just wanted to point that out. I really don't think, because of fundamentals, because of cyclicality, I really don't think that type of sentiment affects price per share. Again, even on the medium to long, let's say short term. Reddit crowd versus Elon Musk. or just, again, any other, the Doge or Polytihapatia or whatever his name is. But, right, you'll see on Reddit, you know, Elon's rich, he's not really with us. You know, we're the small guy sticking it to people. And that's just a complete false correlation, meaning I don't think Elon Musk tweeting at all has any effect in any real sense. I think it's a complete false association. But even in like, again, 2 months, $1 billion, $10 billion, right? He sold, Tesla sold some of their Bitcoin. Elon Musk did not sell some of his Bitcoin. So therefore Bitcoin's going to crash. Again, one person moving $1 billion, $1 trillion of an asset. Well, Bitcoin's market cap is $1 trillion. But again, there's just so many players. Like, I see that also as a complete non-correlation or complete false association. Let me make sure we're still going. Those are the brief trading sentiments I wanted to cover. And now I'm going to tell you the myth of the mid-level manager. So let me paint you a picture. You're 16, you're in high school, you have all of these dreams and goals of what you're going to be in life. Everyone's encouraging you. You have a significant other, you have a partner, and your life's just going great. And then college rolls around, and you're ready to hit the books, ready to start that career, ready to work to the top. And then, bam, you get your degree. And now you're going to go out and work in the world. Now you're going to go crush it. Now you're going to get the bag. You're going to secure the bag. And then you get the first job. And then you make $45,000 for the next 10 years. And then you make $55,000. Now you're 35 years old. Now, oh wow, big promotion, $75,000. Oh, you got a couple kids. Popped out a couple kids before you can financially support them. But man, where did those dreams go? Oh, I'm having a quarter-life crisis? Well, if I just keep working, I have a $75,000 job. I've seen the balance sheet of a public company. Wow, now I'm going to get a really high-paying tech job and make 200 grand. Wow, $200,000 a year. Wow, before taxes. Now, guess what? Now you see the accounting of the entirety of a public company. And bam, you say to yourself, how the fuck am I going to go from 200K to making $40 million a year as a chairman? Or making $200 million a year as a shareholder? And now you realize you fucking can't. All of those dreams from when you were 16, you married your high school sweetheart, you had the kids, and now, you have to pay for college because of the broken sentiment. No one really needs that shit, but you gotta do it because all your friends are doing it. And wow, now you're frustrated and you're angry, and there's 330 million Americans and 7.8 billion people, and you say, you know what? At least I earned my keep. I've earned it. I don't know how the fuck I'm ever gonna make 40 million or 400 million because I have zero real skill sets besides managing people, which is just talking correctly in front of people and not being a weird fuck. So I don't understand how you make 40 million or 400 million dollars. And so then bam, I'm gonna look to that junior banker, that junior associate. Oh, he's 18, he's 25, he's 27. He's got those aspirations. Well, I'm going to tell him what's real. I'm going to tell him what's right. I'm going to tell him that it's not possible. And bam, that's how you get a stagnated labor force. Bam, that's how you get stagnated innovation. Bam, that's how you get stagnated entrepreneurship. The myth of the mid-level manager. The person who has seen the balance sheet of a multi-billion or trillion-dollar revenue-generating organization, and then they say, well, I can't do it, so nobody else fucking can. So I just wanted to start with that great story, because now I want to talk about the medium-term consolidation of skill. Will happen substantially, but not absolutely. and I'm going to use a doctor example. Let's make sure I'm still rolling. So now that I got my scrubs on, I used to want to be a doctor. I used to have the dreams of being a medical doctor. Well, no, I didn't really. I literally, true story, was on a golf course with my dad when I was like 14. And we're talking about, what do you want to be when you grow up? And then obviously, doctor's the obvious fucking buzzword. So it was doctor. And then bam. And in my language series, that's how I got scapegoated. I went from the hardworking gonna be doctor, because right, the mid-level manager can't realize how to make $40 or $400 million, but the entrepreneur can. It's invent something fucking new, own the thing. But I'll talk about, I've been wanting to do another legal lecture, a lot of legal things I'll talk about, but just sticking to finance. But medium-term consolidation of skill will happen substantially, but not absolutely. And I wanted to use the doctor-patient relationship. Because right now, how is surgery, diagnostics, and technology changing? Right? I can go get a device to get an EKG myself on my cell phone. I can, have any sort of diagnostic test issued myself. How about surgery? Right? AI, the tension path physics is going to certainly be more stable than a doctor's hand. And so, for very legitimate reasons, 40, 50, 60, 100 years ago, maybe not 100 because of science not being that progressive, but there was a time when the doctor was the commanding person, and that's that's recent to our sentiment, right? There's a lot of doctors out there that senior surgeons that either did it their way or stuck to their guns or bullshit like that. But the simple fact is, the example I want to use is my ear infection, right? I'm clearly pretty good at science. If I had a weird pain somewhere, I would not self-diagnose or try to self-diagnose. I can analyze language, but I'm going to go to somebody who has experience diagnosing a weird pain. I have no problem. Again, 0% arrogant. People can think I am, I'm just not. But, I'm going to rely on the doctor's expertise. But I went swimming. I've had literally like 15 ear infections in my life. Cause and effect was zero doubt. External ear infection. And then I go to Plush Care, and I got subscribed, again, to five days of Augmentin orally ingested. So flatly the wrong prescription. Then I call Plush Care, and then it was Doctor Says, just another online telemedicine thing. And then the doctor from the Doctor Says, basically, what I'm trying to think of the exact words. She basically said, she basically criticized me for getting prescribed Augmentin. Like I prescribed it to my fucking self. And so, because again, you fill out some pre-form, and again, I can speak directly, clearly with scientific terminology with literally zero backing, and I've derived most of chemistry, so I'm pretty good with any sort of drug interactions, any sort of scientific discussion. I just say, I have an external ear infection, here's what I was prescribed, it didn't work, again, I'm looking for a topical eardrop with a steroid. And then it's like, but you can tell, from a regulation standpoint, she's been coached to be like, because she asked me, what at-home remedies have I tried? There are no prescription-grade, over-the-counter alternatives for an ear infection. So it's like, I'm having a doctor, first of all, not realizing I can't prescribe something to my fucking self, and then two, trying to, you can tell, again, part of her structured training in medical school or at ethics board meetings, what at-home remedies have you tried? What have you done besides taking that extra step for, prescriptions? Again, if I was asking for a pain pill or something that had a potential for abuse, I'm looking for a fucking eardrop for clear cause and effect reasons. And it's like, again, this weird process I have to go through. But again, that's a personal story. So how about the patient to anybody, like I said, anyone with a symptom is going to Google it, is going to have some, again, competence to figure out what they have. And experientially, they certainly know their body better than their doctor. And so, really what a doctor does right? We just talked about insecurity all sounds the same in psychological sense. Insecurity all sounds the same with diseases, right? There's certainly modifications for genetic alteration, right? We all have different genomes, but the overall structure stays the same. The overall functions stay the same. So when I mean medium-term consolidation of skill set will happen substantially, but not absolutely, or you'll always have surgeons, you always have specialties of different fields of study, different industries, but like we can do a lot more self-diagnosing, we can do a lot more, remote work in any industry. So that will happen. Again, to what extent? Certainly not completely, certainly not close to completely, but they'll certainly have effect on a lot of different industries in the medium term. And same with like handyman skills, right? The simple fact is once people stop running in circles, like to be, basic cook or basic, again, repairing skills of stuff around the house, that will all go up at the species level, is my point, right? People are to do that, but with more free time, with more innovation, with more AI, people will have more free time to develop themselves. They'll have more skill sets. That's less inefficiency in the labor market. That's more profitability in every market. And that's disregarding, that's more of like, that's 0% innovation and just general personal inefficiency improvement. So that is what I wanted to say for tax and regulation. And for any of the women on the CNBC in the United States, if there's ever a supply shortage of chairs, my face is open to sit on. Thanks for watching Financial Training Basics, Part 18, Tax and Regulation. See you on the next episode.